My fellow citizens and residents and friends of Nevis, it is with a sense of great concern that I speak to you, coming as it does after what could be described as the most bruising political contest in the history of our country. Let me again, however, thank you for the wonderful support which you gave to our CCM candidates in all the constituencies in the elections of the 11th of July 2011. We are all grateful for your support and for the outpouring of concern as we see the travesty of justice which has been placed on our country. Those who were involved in the manipulation of the voters' lists and those who were engaged in the conspiracy to disenfranchise our brothers and sisters cannot be considered in any different light than the dictators of the past, or than those leaders of countries who are now or have been charged with and tried for other crimes such as genocide and crimes against humanity. As you are aware, our party intends to file an election petition in the High Court to seek redress in what we consider to have been serious irregularities leading up to the elections and allegations of serious misconduct and irregularities and concerns during the elections and at the count of the ballots. Those who would wish for us to let this matter be put to rest should consider the consequences of their advice and consider as well the statement that when good men see evil and do nothing, evil persists and prospers and destroys the people, and the people suffer as a consequence of that inaction. Our peaceful demonstration of the 12th of July outside the El Camino Park must give all of us pause and cause to reflect on what we, the people of Nevis, thought of the ceremony which was being held at the time, and the message that was sent to the persons who were being sworn in and to the Prime Minister who came from St. Kitts to stamp his signature on the outcome of the great electoral fraud. My fellow citizens, residents, and people of goodwill, the saga of the voters' list and the conspiracy to defraud the people of their fundamental and constitutional rights, and to have people who were illegally placed on the voters' list from St. Paul's, from Sandy Point, from Newton Ground, and other areas in St. Kitts must be condemned by all right-thinking and honest persons. To do otherwise is to condone the practice of illegality and criminal behavior, and to condemn our country to a future of lawlessness which has already reared its ugly head in the past 5 years and threatened the peace and tranquility of our country. It is not the peaceful demonstration of the people on Tuesday, the 12th July 2011, that is the threat to the stability of Nevis. It is not the outpouring of anger in disgust at the Prime Minister that is the threat to the future development of our country. It is not the fact that our peace-loving and forward-thinking and progressive CCM party has chosen to challenge election results in a court of law that is detrimental to the development of our people. It is rather the blatant disregard for law and order and the disregard for the Constitution by the supervisor of election, aided and abetted by the officers in the Attorney General's office, that has caused our people to begin to question what is the function of the Constitution. What use are the laws and regulations which should govern the process of preparing a voters' list for an election? These are the issues which can cause instability and lawlessness in this country, not a peaceful demonstration or a petition to the high courts. When the Attorney General abuses his powers by allowing his senior counsel to advocate in a cause in which the Attorney General is himself an interested party, as in the election of the 11th of July 2011, this is cause for concern. When members of civil society and leaders in our churches and other social institutions are turning and have turned a blind eye to these occurrences and incidents and seeking to advise that people of the CCM party must just let these matters rest, we continue to fertilize the seeds of unlawful conduct and give support and sustenance to the tree which has borne crime and violence and social disharmony in our society. That is cause for concern. Let me, however, make it clear that when the leaders of CCM have called for a definitive action against crime and lawlessness in our country over the past 5 years, the voices which we now hear were silent. When we cried out against the stealing of the elections in 2006, those who now say we should not seek redress for the disenfranchised brothers and sisters and citizens of and residents of our country who are denied the right to vote based on arbitrary actions by an obviously biased registration officer and an indolent and insubordinate supervisor of election, the voices we now hear were silent. The leadership of the Concerned Citizens Movement, the CCM party, were left to fight alone. No cry from persons who are now, once again, seeking to bury their heads in the sand and pretend that all is well. My fellow citizens, all is not well in St. Kitts and Nevis. The results of the elections of the 11th of July and all of the actions leading up to the preparation for these elections indicate that all is not well. There were so many radio programs, so many discussions, so many exchanges of correspondence back and forth to seek redress in this matter, seeking the attention of the Electoral Commission, seeking the attention of the Prime Minister, seeking to get the Supervisor of Elections to act in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution, all to no avail. That indicates that all is not well. The crippling high national debt of $3 billion indicate that things are not well in St. Kitts and Nevis. The excessive high number of taxes and the VAT, the obvious self-aggrandizement, the nepotism and corruption which pervade our government, the lack of transparency and the disregard for the rule of law, these are symptoms that indicate that all is not well in our country. None of us should be surprised at the fact that the Chamber of Industry and Commerce has called for the resignation of the Supervisor of Elections. I myself have raised that matter with the Supervisor himself some time ago, and in the recent past with the Governor General of St. Kitts and Nevis. We should, however, be appalled at the scathing report made by the OAS Observer Mission, which has in a diplomatic manner condemned the practices which CCM is condemning, but which some persons are saying we should not condemn or seek redress against for our brothers and sisters and our country and our party. Over the years, our people have sought to sweep these issues under the carpet, and we have piled up so much in those years that they have become now to trip us up. A wise person has said that, quote unquote, quote, a people who forget their past are doomed to repeat it, unquote. And this habit of closing our eyes and covering our ears and keeping our mouths shut is the recipe by which dictatorships are created, whether by the ballot box, as in the case of St. Kitts and now Nevis, or by force, as in the case of some other countries around the world. My fellow citizens, residents, and all people of goodwill, the future of our country is not to be compromised any further. What we compromise to keep, we will lose. I want us to remember that. What we compromise to keep, we will lose. And if we compromise on the principles of law and order, the principles of constitutional rights and fundamental human rights, we stand the risk of losing those rights. Values and principles of the rule of law are never to be compromised, but are to be safeguarded and protected with every fiber of our being. That is the purpose of our actions at this time. When we see wrong, we must condemn it, or it comes back to haunt us, as it is doing now. And as one sworn to uphold the law and the constitution of this land, I can do no different. To do otherwise, my fellow citizens, is to fail in my duty to God and my country and myself. My fellow citizens, we have started the fight against nepotism, against corruption and lawlessness with a peaceful demonstration. And by the help of God, we shall continue using public meetings, town hall meetings, and when we shall have moved the court, we shall abide by its decision. Meanwhile, my fellow citizens, we need your support to save our country. Join with us and fight the good fight for justice and fairness for all. If ever our country needed us, it is now. May God bless us all and give us the courage to do what is right, and give us the victory over the conspiracy which is upon us. God bless you, and God bless our country.